Welcome to Chapter 12, Integrated Marketing Communications. Promotion is communication by marketers that informs, persuades, and reminds potential buyers of a product in order to influence an opinion or elicit a response. Promotional strategy is a coordinated plan for the optimal use of the elements of promotion: advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and public relations. The main function of promotion is to convince target customers that the goods or services offered provide a differential advantage over the competition. A differential advantage is a unique set of features of a company and its products that are perceived by the target market as significant and superior to their competition. Midwest Express Airlines is known for its first-class seating throughout the entire plane and chocolate chip cookies baked fresh on each flight. These are both differential advantages for Midwest Express. A combination of the various promotional tools is called the promotional mix. It includes advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and public relations. Advertising is an impersonal one-way mass communication about a product or organization that's paid for by the sponsor. Cost per contact is very low because advertising can reach such a large number of people, but the total cost to advertise is typically very high. Advertising is the main route to building a quality, differentiated image for a product. Advertising can be very expensive, however. 30 seconds of commercial time on a primetime network TV show costs approximately $125,000 to $250,000. Production costs for a 30-second commercial may run as high as $150,000 or even $1 million for a Super Bowl extravaganza. Advertising is any form of impersonal paid communication where the company is identified. The amount of advertising spending in the United States increases annually, with the estimated expenditures now exceeding $250 billion a year. New brands with a small market share tend to spend proportionately more for advertising and sales promotion than those products with a large market share. After a certain level of advertising is reached, diminishing returns set in. This phenomenon, known as advertising response function, explains why well-known brands can spend proportionately less on advertising than new brands can. Advertising requires a certain minimum level of exposure to measurably affect purchase habits. According to estimates, Americans are exposed to hundreds of advertisements a day from the various types of advertising media. Selective perception means we only notice a portion of the ads we're exposed to. Attitudes and values are deeply rooted within a person's psychological makeup. Advertising seldom succeeds in changing an attitude that stems from a person's moral code or culture. But advertising does attempt to change attitudes toward brands and to create an attitude toward the advertisement itself. Advertising can affect the way consumers rank a brand's attributes such as color, taste, smell, and texture. The two major types of advertising are institutional advertising and product advertising. Product advertising touts the benefits of a specific good or service. Institutional advertising is used if the goal of the campaign is to build the image of the company rather than promote a particular product. Institutional advertising has four important audiences: the public, the investment community, customers, and employees. A unique form of institutional advertising called advocacy advertising is a way for corporations to express their views on controversial issues. Many advocacy campaigns react to criticism or blame, media attacks, or impending legislation. Examples of institutional advertising include Walmart's ads spotlighting sales associates and their public service efforts. Product advertising is intended to stimulate primary demand for a new product or product category. The first advertisements for prescription medications are an example of pioneering advertising. The goal of competitive advertising is to influence demand for a specific brand. It's often used when a product enters the growth phase of the product life cycle. Comparative advertising compares two or more specifically named or shown competing brands on one or more specific product attributes. Advertisers often make taste, price, and preference claims in reference to their competition. Before the 70s, advertisements weren't allowed to show or identify the competition by name, but the Federal Trade Commission changed its stance to allow direct comparisons, prohibiting only false descriptions. These ads attract attention, enhance purchase intentions, increase consumers' message perception, generate positive attitudes, and increase personal relevance. Examples of comparative advertising include the burger war ads, and ads for painkillers and cars are very comparative. The advertising campaign is a series of related advertisements focusing on a common theme, slogan, and set of advertising appeals that extends for a defined time period. As with most planning processes, creating and planning an advertising campaign can be broken down into a series of steps. In practice, however, the creative and media steps are often done simultaneously. Before any creative work can begin on an advertising campaign, it's important to determine the advertising objective, which is the specific communication task a campaign should accomplish for a specified target audience for a specified period of time. The DAGMAR approach, which is defining advertising goals for measured advertising results, is one method that stresses the defining objective as a percentage of change. Once objectives are defined, work can begin on the advertising campaign. For example, a new music store may set a goal raising awareness of its extensive CD selection from 30% to 50% among college students within 6 months. Within this example, there's a defined target audience, college students, a defined desired percentage change, 30% to 50% awareness, and a defined time frame for the change. They've given themselves 6 months to see this change. Marketers strive to identify product benefits, not product attributes, that will be the message to the consumers. Marketing research and creative intuition are usually used to list the perceived benefits of a product and to rank these benefits. What's the benefit of light beer? Less filling, tastes great. Within marketing, you might have heard the catchphrase, sell the sizzle, not the steak. This means that you sell the product's benefits, not its attributes. A benefit should answer, what's in it for me if I buy this product? After identifying product benefits, possible advertising appeals are developed. An advertising appeal identifies a reason a person should purchase a product. Advertising campaigns can focus on one or more appeals, which are developed by the creative people in the advertising agency. Typical appeals to people are using the idea of profit, health, love, fear, convenience, and fun. A lot of people, when they purchase products, are looking for these types of things. The next step is to evaluate the proposed appeals. An appeal needs to be desirable, exclusive, and believable. For most ads, dozens of appeals and messages are created before the options are narrowed down to one. The dominant appeal for the campaign is the unique selling proposition, and it usually becomes the campaign slogan. Message execution is the way the advertisement will be portrayed. Examples of message execution style include fantasy, humor, demonstration, and slice of life. Executional styles for foreign advertising are often quite different from those we're accustomed to in the States. Global advertising managers are increasingly concerned with the issue of standardization versus customization. Evaluating an advertising campaign can be the most demanding task facing advertisers. A medium is the channel used to convey a message to the target market. Media planning is the series of decisions advertisers make regarding the selection and use of media to communicate the advertising message to the target audience. 6 major types of advertising media are available: newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, outdoor advertising, and the Internet. Marketers can also use alternative media to reach their target market. Cooperative advertising is an arrangement where the manufacturer and retailer split the cost of advertising the manufacturer's brand. Yamaha will pay 50% of its dealer's costs to advertise in local print and broadcast media. Magazines are often targeted to a very narrow market. Although they may offer a very high cost per contact, the cost per potential customer may be much lower. One full-page color ad in Newsweek costs $100,000. Radio can be directed to very specific audiences, has a large out-of-home audience, has low unit and production costs, it's timely, and can have geographic flexibility. Prague radio station programming is as diverse as its Western counterparts. Radio stations vary from traditional Western-type rock stations to traditional call-in and news stations. The advertising budget breakdown is basically the same as in the U.S., with 10 to 15% going to radio spots. Most non-music stations go adless except in peak times. With little or no listenership surveys, stations have been unable to attract global marketers, and local firms can't afford to advertise. Most of Prague's small stations are aimed at particular listeners, whether opera buffs or metalheads. These audiences are too narrow for global companies still in the introduction phases of their campaigns. Television can be divided into independent stations, cable channels, direct broadcast satellite TV, and into networks, including ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. Cable television is the largest growth market. Over 2/3 of all U.S. households subscribe to cable. It can be useful for reaching specific markets. TV reaches a huge market, but the advertising time and production costs are very expensive. The infomercial is a 30-minute or longer advertisement. These are popular because of the cheap airtime and the relatively small production costs. 30 seconds of advertising time during the 1998 Super Bowl cost about $1.5 million. 30 seconds of primetime major network advertising time on Seinfeld cost $1.7 million to $1.8 million. More and more, sexual content in the form of innuendo, nudity, and sexual situations is being used to sell products to teenagers and young adults. The results of a 2000 study suggest that advertisers' sexy messages are getting through. More than 200 young adults, ages 18 to 25, showed no hesitation when asked to name an ad they considered really sexy. Over 60 ads were mentioned altogether. Sexy ads are typically used to market mainstream brands associated with personal appearance and social interaction, such as clothing, perfume, health and beauty aids, cosmetics, and alcohol. Recently, however, sexual themes have been used to sell coffee, tea, computers, watches, cigarette lighters, and lollipops. Why do advertisers use sex when advertising to young adults? Because it works very well. For young people just discovering romance and crushes, venturing into the realm of sexuality is new and exciting. Another reason is that young people are more susceptible to advertising's promises. Young boys are more apt to believe a particular cologne makes them irresistible to young women. Overall, ad professionals claim to have little respect for sexual appeals when used to get attention. One executive remarked, "Whoever created this ad is lazy. Anyone can do it." On the other hand, most agree if sex is used in a novel, creative, or humorous way, it can be very effective. Outdoor or out-of-home advertising is a flexible, low-cost medium that may take a variety of forms, like billboards, skywriting, ads in and on modes of transportation, like on the sides of buses. It reaches a broad and diverse market. With ad revenue approaching $6 billion, the Internet has established itself as a solid advertising medium. By 2004, Internet advertising will increase to $21 billion, representing 8% of total media spending. Popular Internet sites and search engines generally sell advertising space called banners. Banner ads are judged to be as or more effective for boosting brand and advertising awareness. Web advertisers are also becoming more targeted with their approach to advertising by studying clickstream data. Advertising, it seems, is everywhere, and for many consumers it's getting harder and harder to find refuge from its reach. Often called ad creep, the growing intrusiveness of advertising and marketing messages reflects an escalating race between marketers and consumers. New media choices seem boundless. Advertising space is being sold on video cases, parking lot tickets, golf scorecards, delivery trucks, gas pumps, even garbage cans. Ordinary cars are being transformed into roving billboards by wrapping them with digitally printed adhesive vinyl wrap commonly used on municipal buses. Advertisers are also invading consumers' more personal spaces. Even outer space is not safe anymore from advertising's reach. Technology is pushing the limits of advertising, promising a future of little escape for consumers. As technology advances, futurists imagine a world in which advertisers will narrowcast messages directly into consumers' brains, eliciting emotional responses that impel them to buy their products. Do you think that consumers will eventually say enough is enough, or will they learn to tune out intrusive messages? The media mix is the combination of media used for a promotional campaign. Media decisions are typically based on cost per thousand, reach, and frequency. Marketers often use these tools to evaluate and select their media mix. Cost per thousand, or CPM, has a simple equation. For example, if a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl costs $750,000 and reaches 180 million people, the cost per thousand people reached is $4.17. Cost per contact is the cost of reaching one person in a target market. Reach refers to the number of target consumers exposed to a commercial at least once. Frequency measures the intensity of coverage. Frequency is the number of times a person is exposed to a brand message during a specific time period. Another consideration is audience selectivity, the medium's ability to reach a precisely defined market. The flexibility of a medium can be extremely important to an advertiser. Also, noise level is the level of distraction to the target audience in a medium. Lifespan refers to messages that can either quickly fade or persist as tangible copy to be carefully studied. The media regularly do market research on their audiences and build a market profile that includes demographic details. For a full-page advertisement in Newsweek, the cost per thousand is approximately $30. For Business Week, with a much smaller circulation, the cost is about $75. After selecting the media, a media schedule must be set. This media schedule designates the vehicles, the specific publications, and the dates and times. There are three basic types of media schedules. With a continuous media schedule, advertising runs steadily throughout the advertising period. With the flighted media schedule, the advertiser schedules ads heavily every other time period, like every other month. A pulsing media schedule combines continuous scheduling with flighting, resulting in a base advertising level with heavier periods of advertising. A seasonal media schedule is used for products that are sold more during certain times of the year. For example, you might see toys advertised more heavily around the Christmas season. Communication is the process where we exchange or share meanings through a common set of symbols. For an example of the importance of common understanding, suppose you overheard a conversation of someone saying, "Did you hear about the new CD?" Do you assume the person is talking about a compact disc or a certificate of deposit? Interpersonal communication is direct, face-to-face communication between two or more people. Interpersonal communication is extremely effective because it's immediate and it allows two-way feedback, but it also is able only to reach a small audience and is very expensive. Mass communication refers to communicating to large audiences, usually through a mass medium such as TV or newspaper. For effective communication between two communicators, the sender and receiver, common understanding or overlapping frames of reference are required. The communication process involves a sender and a receiver and begins when the sender has a thought or idea and wants to share it with one or more receivers. The sender, for example, can be a marketing manager, manufacturer, or any intermediary. Encoding the message could be any of the promotional elements. The message channel could be the medium chosen. The decoding the message refers to how the target audience interprets the message. Just think about how often you've watched the Super Bowl and watched a commercial and you had no idea what the message was, what the commercial was trying to sell. Obviously, they didn't think too much about the audience decoding the message. Receiver is the target audience. Feedback refers to sales, complaints, and messages to the sender of the message. Noise refers to anything that interferes with the target audience's reception or interpretation of the message. Examples of misunderstanding during decoding abound. The most blatant are the product slogans that don't translate well into other languages. For example, the Big Mac hamburger was called Gross Mac in French, which turned out to be slang for sex maniac. Messages are also disturbed by noise. Noise can be competing advertisements, newspaper stories, light, other sounds, location, the presence of other people, or any other factor that impedes communication. The act of driving your car is noise that interferes with receiving the message of a billboard. One of the hottest debates for global marketing professionals is whether to customize or standardize promotional messages. On one side of the fence are those who believe the message should be tailored to each country. Some would disagree, however, advocating a single message for all countries. If you followed the standardized approach, a marketer would develop and deliver one message translated into the language of each country to all target markets. Possibly the best answer to this dilemma is to use a mixture of standardization and customization. That is, standardizing the message while paying attention to local differences in the execution of the message. While efficiencies can be achieved by producing a single promotional message for worldwide use, the approach only makes sense if it does not run counter to social mores, ethical issues, and religious taboos. Just take a few moments to think about what types of products you think would benefit from a standardized approach to promotion, and which types would do better using a tailored approach. Kirby Company likes to compare its vacuum cleaners to a Porsche, but with the price tag of about $1,500, the Kirby model costs more than 5 times that of other top-of-the-line vacuums. Distributors sell Kirby vacuums exclusively door-to-door using aggressive selling techniques, often to people who can least afford to purchase such an expensive appliance. But Kirby is hardly alone. In Canada, door-to-door salesmen for gas broker Priority Gas Marketing say field managers employed by a company hired by the broker told them to use misleading tactics to convince homeowners to sign 5-year natural gas supply contracts. Telemarketers and other direct marketers have also been known to use some very persuasive pitches to get customers to purchase something. Even salespeople in stores can often talk you into purchasing something you really don't want or need. A classic model for reaching promotional goals is called the AIDA concept, standing for Attention, Interest, Desire, Action. It outlines the stages of consumer involvement with a promotional message. The AIDA concept assumes that promotion moves consumers along 4 steps in the purchase decision process. The advertiser must first gain the attention of the target market. The next step is to create an interest in the product. The desire to purchase the product is the 3rd step in the process. Action is the final step in the purchase decision process. The promoter's task is to determine where on the purchase ladder most of the target consumers are located and design a promotion plan to meet their needs. The different elements of the promotional mix are not equally effective when buyers are at different stages in the hierarchy. Each promotional tool is more effective at certain stages of the hierarchy. Advertising is most effective in gaining attention for goods or services. Public relations has the greatest impact in gaining attention for a company, good, or service. Sales promotion is most effective in creating strong desire and purchase intent. Personal selling is most effective at creating customer interest for a product and creating desire. The characteristics of the product influences the promotional mix. Industrial or business products are often expensive, complex, and customized, requiring personal selling. Consumer products are promoted mainly through advertising to create brand familiarity. As the costs and risks of the product increase, so does the need for personal selling. Risks can be financial or social. The purchase of a car is an example of a situation that requires personal selling because of the risk involved. Before introduction, small amounts of advertising and publicity inform the public that the product is coming. During introduction, the company heavily promotes the product in advertising, public relations, sales promotion, and personal selling to inform the target market of the product, to build awareness, to introduce trial, and to obtain distribution. As the product enters the growth phase, brand loyalty becomes the focus as the company attempts to persuade the market to buy this brand over all others. Sales promotion drops off for a while. In maturity, advertising and public relations decrease slightly and focus on persuasion and reminders, and sales promotions increase to build market share. Once a product moves to decline, advertising and public relations are dramatically reduced, although sales promotions and personal sellings may be maintained at low levels. The product stage in its life cycle dramatically affect the promotional mix. When Cabbage Patch dolls were first sold, the manufacturer sent dolls to the hosts of many of the major news and talk shows, along with stories about how much children loved this unique doll. The resulting flood of publicity helped to introduce the product. The characteristics of the target market influence the blend of promotion tools. Widely scattered markets, highly informed buyers, and brand loyalty repeat purchasers generally respond to a blend of advertising and sales promotion with less personal selling. Even expensive consumer products like personal computers use a great deal of advertising because the market is so scattered and well-informed. Some computers are sold only through catalogs with no face-to-face contact with a salesperson. The type of buying decision, whether routine or complex, also affects the promotional mix. Advertising and sales promotion are most effective for routine decisions. For decisions which are neither routine or complex, advertising and public relations help establish awareness. Personal selling is used in complex buying situations. Available or unavailable funds may be the most important factor in determining the promotional mix. A lack of money may force a company to rely on publicity or commission-only manufacturer sales agents. When funds are available, a firm will generally try to optimize its return on promotion dollars while minimizing the cost per contact, the cost of reaching one member of the target market. A full-page ad in the Chicago Tribune costs about $33,000. 1 minute of radio advertising on a Chicago station at the most popular times costs about $700. Some manufacturers employ a push strategy, which uses aggressive personal selling and trade advertising to convince wholesalers and retailers to carry and sell their merchandise. At the other extreme, a pull strategy stimulates consumer demand with consumer advertising and special promotions. With the push strategy, the manufacturer promotes directly to the next level in the distribution channel. That intermediary buys the product and promotes it to the next level. The final step is the retailer promoting it to the consumers. The product is therefore pushed through the distribution channel to the consumers. With the pull strategy, the manufacturer promotes directly to the consumers. Then the consumers go to the retailers and demand the product. Then the retailers go to the next level up the channel and demand the product. The final step is an intermediary demanding the product from the manufacturer. The product has been pulled through the distribution channel by the consumer. Consumer demand was stimulated by the manufacturer's promotions. Most manufacturers use a combination of push and pull strategies. Kellogg had been using about 60% push and 40% pull, but in '91 decided to reverse that strategy. Now it spends more on advertising and less on trade promotions. Communications from each promotional mix element should be integrated with the common message reaching the consumer. Integrated Marketing Communications, or IMC, is the method of carefully coordinating all promotional activities to produce a consistent, unified message that is customer-focused. Interest in integrated marketing communications is largely a reaction to the scrutiny that marketing communications has come under and to suggestions that the lack of coordination leads to waste and inefficiency.